Hello guys, good evening to everyone. Can you guys please confirm, am I audible? You can see the screen right there. Yeah, Shraddha, good evening. Good evening, Sakshi. Yes guys, am I audible? Please confirm. Yes, Rutuja, good evening. All right, okay, let us get started along with the last previous question that we guys have left with. So we are going to start with that question first, and then ultimately we guys are going to be understand the logic behind it, and we will start with the processing right at here. So let us get it started. So this is the question that we guys have left yesterday. Okay, I hope you've gone through with it. Like yesterday, I told you to take a screenshot for the same. So here in this question, what is exactly it's mentioned? We have a city. Okay, in that city, we have a city bus, and that is a ring route, which is a ring route bus, and which runs in a circular order fashion. Okay, that is the bus once start at the source stop, then it has to come to the same end again. That is meaning of circular fashion of routing with the bus. Similar to this, okay, if there are n number of stops, and if the bus starts at the stop 1, then after the nth bus stop, the next stop in the route will be of stop number 1 always. And if there is n stop available, so there will be again the n paths to reach out these paths, and one path which connects to the 2 stops right at there. And the distance is going to measure in a meters for all the paths. Those are there in a ring route, and which can be hold in this array. So this array we are going to be input from the keyboard for this problem statement, and we have to determine a fare. Okay, the fare is determined based on the distance covered from the source to the destination stop, as the distance between the source and destination stop that can be measured by looking at the values in that array's path. And we have to calculate what? We have to calculate the fare. Those are related, or we are going to calculate the fare on this following criteria. Okay, what is criteria? The criteria, as far as we are solving this, daily 3 or 2 questions on a screen. So this is the 7th day. So we guys got probably connected with 20 to 25 questions here. So these criteria is really very important stuff when it comes to the actual implementation of hidden test cases. So let us do understand them right at here. So if our D is 100 meters, where the D is actually the distance which can be measured in meters, then the fare is of the 5 Indian rupees. Okay, and when we are calculating the fare for others, the calculated fare containing any fraction value should be sealed, which means we have to round up the values. That is why here that we got mentioned. So for example, let us say we have 900 meters, it's M, it's not N. By typing it's getting n right at there. So if we have covered with 900 meters, when the fare initially calculated as 4.5, but we have to seal up with the value, which means we have to round off the value, so that output must be 5 again. And as the path is circular in function, the value at each index indicates the distance till the current stop from the previous one. So whatever the array that we guys are going to input, that is nothing but a distance, and we have to make them calculate. And here also it is going to mention the same, and each index position can be mapped with the value at the same index in a bus stop array. Okay, and this is the bus stop array. So that is completely constant for our problem statement. So there are some, let me just zoom in so that you guys can see it correctly. Now you guys can see this is the values. These values are static for the problem statement, and we have to check for it. So given the n as 8, so n number of total bus stands are like this. So these are the bus stops that we have to declare them in our code, and we have to write a function. Now, whenever in the problem statement, if they mention that you have to write a function along with some arguments, again, to get all the marks for that coding question, you guys have to declare the same function in a problem statement. In most of the cases, what exactly happens is, if they mention that you have to write a function along with the name, along with the description, and along with the logic, well, in that case, that function is already defined in the editor. You don't want to define, or else if it is not defined in the editor, you guys have to create the same function, so that once it is comes to, like analyzing your coding question at a manual way, so that we can get that all the marks related to the coding question. So here we have to create a function. The name of function is getFare. Okay, having the string source as argument, string destination as argument, and we are going to take input as the source and destination stop in the format of array right at there, and we have to calculate and return the value of travel fare from this function. So let us understand them. How does it is going to be work? So very beginning, as it's a circular order format, so whatever the source that we guys are going to input, the destination should not be matched to each other, because our source and destinations are same. So in that case, we guys are going to print as a invalid input. And if we have the other source value, if we have other destination values, in that case, you have to follow with that respective approach of our arrays, those we got created right at here in the problem statement, and we have to calculate that value as the whatever the total fare right at there. Now let us do understand this logic, how does it is going to be implemented, and how to write a code for the same. So as far as the code concern, we have two different arrays right here on the screen. So let us check them here. So as far as we have two different array, one array is of our defining the bus stops that we have to define, and other array defines the distance that is also defined in the problem statement. We don't want to change it. Okay, so this array of distances and the array of bus stops that you guys can able to create very easily. Either we can follow with the matrix, because if you observe the length of this path, that is the distances, and the length of the bus stops are quite very same. Okay, second very important thing that we have to follow, when we have to print this invalid input. Okay, we have to print this invalid input only when either a source path that we got entered or the destination path that we got entered, which is not matched in our current bus stops array. So if it is not getting matched, and that is completely case sensitive. So if it is not present, in that case, we are going to print as an invalid input. Okay, next to that, as we have to find out the source and destination. So as it's in, the circular order format, so we can able to check with the condition that the root value that we got entered first, that is source, is less than the destination values or not in the format of distances. Then we can able to add them using a for loop to the fare, and ultimately we can able to print them by converting them to the roundup values. So let us write a code for the same. So here I'm going to open the editor, and I'm going to create a new file right here on my screen. Let us create a new file, and this file I'm going to name it as, let us say, TCS coding, that is day 7. Okay, so as far as the input concern, we have a two string to be got inputted at the new line. So we have to read them to the new line. So I'm going to read them the value. Let us say source, that is a string input. So we can use this input function, and other values that we will have, that is destination. Okay, so that is destination equals to input, and we have to pass these values to the function called as getFare. So let us define the function having the value of getFare. and here we are having source and destination as an argument. So let us define them right at here. So def, let me declare them to the new line. So the function name is getFare and having the source and destination as the arguments. So we will write this code later. And from this function, we knows that we are going to read the value of, or we are going to return the value of fare. So I'm going to call them by storing a fare. So I'm going to say fare equals to get fare with this source value that we got inputted and the destination value that we got inputted. Okay, and we have to print that value. But again, here we guys are going to print invalid input also. In that case, I'm going to send the value of fare as -1. So if that condition is being true, if the value of source and the value of destination is not available in our bus stop array, then we are going to return them as, you know, the -1. So here I'm going to check if the value of fare is equals to -1, then I have to print here in the output as invalid input. Else, whatever the value of fare that we will have, we are going to print, but the output that we guys have to show INR at the postfix of that value. So here I'm going to print that value as print of fare and then the message as INR so that it can pass our all the test cases. Now let us get back to the logic first. So as per our logic, we have two arrays. Those are stored. One is bus stop array, other is the distance array. So let us first create that entire both of the arrays with the same sequence as mentioned in the problem statement so that we can able to find out that fare. So let me copy these values first. So I'm going to copy the path first. So this is the path array, guys. So I'm going to copy this entire and paste it right at here. So I'm going to say paths and this is the path list. And we have this destination bus stops array. So I'm going to define them again. And here I'm going to say bus stops or like just bus. And this is the array. I have to change the double equals. So let me just copy and replace. That will be the best option. That will minimize our time also. So I'm going to replace them with this opening code. So I'm going to say replace all with the selection. All right. Okay, that is not getting applied still. Let me do it one more time. So this is where the replacement, replace and find. Okay, still it is not performing well. Let me do it manually. So here I'm going to copy this and paste it right at here. The same thing I'm going to perform here also, here also, here also. So let us create them to the string so that we can able to form that string array correctly. All right, now we have this bus stop array and the fare array with us. For each and every bus stops, we have the distance. Now, as I wanted to calculate a fare and that may be the value of float. If it is float, then we have to round up. So initial value of fare, instead of storing them to the 0, I'm going to store them to the float value that is 0.0. Now, the next thing that I have to do is I have to check, I have to return -1 to print the invalid input. And when to print the invalid input, if the source and destination is not available in our bus stop array. So let us write a code for the same. So here I'm going to say if, okay, this source value is not in the bus, or okay, if any one of this value is not available, that is why I've written or, and the destination value is not in the bus. In that case, we are going to return the value as -1. So that is matches to this our the given test cases, and it is going to print here as invalid input. Okay, else if it is available, which means the both of the values are available, in that case we guys have to follow to calculate a route. And to calculate a route, you have to add all the distance measured from that given indices. So first I have to check the index of source in the path array, and I have to check the index of destination in the path array, and I have to check for both of the values are less than or not. If the values are less than, then and then only I can able to calculate the fare available in between them. If the value is not less than, then I should have to follow the different strategy. So let us write here one more if condition to check how does these values are going to be works, to check the index of the source in the bus stop is less than the index of destination in the bus stop or not. And for this, we guys are going to say inbuilt function from the list. So I'm going to say the bus dot index of source, okay, is less than the bus dot index of destination. So here I'm checking the index of source value in the bus array is less than the index of destination value in the bus array or not. If it is, then using a for loop, we guys can able to calculate that respected fares by adding them to the fare value. Okay, let us do with this. Now we have to execute a loop in between these specific indices, which is stored in source and destination. So let us do with that. So here we are going to say for I in the range of, so starting point must be the index of source point from the bus array, but that has to follows the path indices to make them calculate. So let us make them return. So here I am going to say bus dot index of source. That is a starting point, and the ending point must be the bus dot index of destination, and we have to include that index. So I'm going to write +1 right at here. Now these indices and these indices along with matching their distances. So here I'm going to calculate a fare by adding this path value with the reference variable of I. So I'm going to say here fare plus equals to paths of I. So I'm adding that fare right at here. Now this is applicable when our source point is less than the destination point. Now we have one more condition here. What is that condition? Maybe in that case, our destination point is less than the source point. So here, one more else if statement I'm going to write. So I'm going to say bus dot index of destination, okay, is less than the bus dot index of source. Okay, if it is, then you have to write a fare in between these both of the values, which means I'm going to start the bus, or that is the starting point of our source, and I'm going to end up with that all the routes value, and then again I'm going to start my current iteration from the destination, and then also we are going to end up with that all the values, and we are going to store this to the fare one more time, which means here we have to write the two different for loops to calculate the route. So for this I'm going to write here for I in the range of this bus dot index of source. So I'm going to start with the index of source first, and then this has to increment by +1. So +1, and I'm going to end them by the length of bus. And here also we are going to calculate a fare. So fare plus equals to again the paths of I. And one more for loop that I have to write. Again, I am going to start this loop from the 0, and I'm going to end them by the index of destination +1. So let us write a code. So again, for I in the range of, okay, I have to start it by 0, and then 0 to the index of destination. Okay, bus dot index I have to write. So bus dot index of destination +1. All right. Now here again we are going to add this fare plus equals to paths of I. So if our source index is less than the destination index, then we are going to follow with this. If it is not, then again I will start with the source point +1 till to the length, so that I can cover that entire path, and again from 0 to the destination I will get travel, so that that circular path is going to be matches. And at the last, okay, which means after completion of this else block, as I have to seal up the values and I have to return them, so I required the math model to be got import. So here I'm going to import a math model first, as I wanted to seal up a value. So after completion of else, I'm going to say return what? The value of float. The answer must be in a float. So math dot this seal function, and I'm going to seal what? I'm going to seal the value of fare, that is multiplied by 0.005. All right, now this is our exact code that is returning our fare, and depends on the value of fare, either it is going to print invalid input or the value of fare along with INR. Now let us save this code and let us run with this given test cases right at here. So let us check with this, how does it is going to be followed with. So right now we are at this screen. So this is our input. Let me copy with the input. So input value is CA and capital CA. So let us run this code. So here I'm going to say CA, small ca and capital CA. So in this case, as this CA is not matches in our bus, so it's saying it returning with the invalid input. Now let us check with the test cases 2. So in the test cases 2, our source point is NI, that is completely capital, and the destination point is HA. Now let us rerun the code again. And I'm going to say here as NI and HA. Now you guys can see the same fare has got printed in the output that we want, that is 23.0 INR, the value that we have to sealed up and printing in a 4 by adding the INR as a key. What is the logic here? The logic here, we have a bus along with the circular fashion execution, and for this bus we already have the distance in between the bus stops and whatever the bus stops that we will have in a problem statement, and that is the reason we have declared them as it is that we will have in a problem statement. Now our job here is to calculate a fare. Okay, but that fare has to be get calculated with the same logic. If the source point and the destination point is not available in a bus, then it should have to return -1, and that is going to print here as invalid input. Else, okay, if it is present, then I have again 2 more conditions to calculate a fare. Okay, because if our source point is less than the destination point, which means I can easily, like travel from the source point and destination point and add this value of distances in between them in the fare, and then I can multiply it by 0.005 as per the logic to calculate a fare. Distance multiplied by 0.005. So this is where we can calculate a fare right at there. So if that source point is less than destination, so using a 1 for, we can able to calculate easily. Okay, if it is not, so I have to check for other condition, which means our destination point is less than the source. Okay, as it's circular order fashion, so first I have to travel from the source index to the last index of the bus, so that I can complete a first half. And while completing a first half, I'm adding this fare, whatever the distance that we will have, to the fare value. And now again, we have to start it from 0 and we have to end it to that destination so that the circular order should be get matched. And again, while matching this, the value of distance from the path we are adding to the fare. So if our destination is less than the source, then using 2 for loops like this, we guys are going to calculate our fare, and then at the last, as we have to seal up a value, and the fare is getting calculated by multiplying them 0.005. So whatever that value that we are going to receive, that we are going to print it right at here. I hope you guys have understood with this logic correctly. What is the logic about this question and how we guys got implement right here on a screen? Yes, guys, is that clear? Please confirm. Everyone here in a YouTube live and Facebook live, please confirm me with the details. Yes, sir. Yes, 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 sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, fine. Okay, now we guys are going to discuss with the next problem statement, And in that problem statement, again, how to be modifies with the content, how to check with that logic, that is really very important. So let us get back to the next question. So this I'm going to close. All right, so let me gone through with this. All right, now everyone has to read a problem statement. This is comes on question two pattern. So read it carefully. And again, with that same implementation, you guys have to tell me what is the logic behind for this course. All right, guys, what is the logic? What you guys have understand? Is anyone from the Facebook live and YouTube live? What do you guys have understand from the problem statement? Maybe you are thinking on it, like while reading the problem statement, there is a possibility that you think, yeah, that could be done very easily. But when you read this statement, this is where we are going to be lagging behind. And these kind of questions are always came at the question two pattern, because the question two is a really very important question when it comes to the coding. Somewhat the medium level at the difficulty, but yes, if you are going to crack this, then you will become and the NQT qualifier very easily. And to do that, so we are going to be followed with different approaches. Let us talk about this question. The question, when you are reading, then you might get thinking it's a simple array problem, but it's exactly not. Okay, let us check with them here. What is this problem statement given right here on screen? So we have given an array of integers where every elements appears even number of times. Okay, that is there in the test cases, which means that every single number, whatever that we are going to receive, that appears in a even number of times. Expect only one element which like appears odd number of times. Okay, the test cases for these problem statement is designed in the same pattern that we got mentioned right here in the problem statement. So we have to write a program to find that odd occurring element, but in the given time complexity of order of log n, not as log n. Okay, so if you can say using the time complexity of order of log n by writing a one single for, yes, I can do it very easily, but we have to write a code for order of log n only. Okay, so to do with this, which kind of algorithm that we guys are going to follow, that one also we are going to be discussed. But here some patterns are given. And unfortunately for this problem statement, I have found only one single test cases right at there. On that problem statement, we guys are going to check. Okay, so the equal elements must appear in the pair in that array, but there cannot be more than two consecutive occurrence of the element. That is what again given in the problem statement. So we have the equal elements, that means we have more than one elements available that maybe appears in an array, but in a consecutive order format. Now consecutive means by what? One by one. And there may be the count of two only. So there may be the count of two that we supposed to have. And for these entire paragraph, they have given you the three different inputs to understand what is the meaning of this problem statement, or what is the meaning of this sentence which is mentioned in the problem statement given below. So like this, you guys can see we have this array with the size of 3, and the array inputs are 2, 3, 2. So it don't have, or it doesn't have any equal elements appears in a pair. So there is no any equal elements appears in a pair. So that is not a correct array for the given problem statement. Again, the same thing here, we are having a second array that is with the size of 7, and the array elements are 1, 1, triple, 2 and double 3. So here you guys can see it contains the 3 consecutive instance of an element. So that is again the invalid array right here, because we are having all elements in this consecutive order format. But when I'm checking with the third input, that is the correct input for this problem statement, correct unit test case for this problem statement, which mentioned here as it is valid and odd occurring present in it, that is 3. And we have to enter only valid inputs. So as for this problem statement, I can able to find out only these test cases. So we are going to be followed with this to be get match with this time complexity of order of log n. Now, very important approach here, that which kind of algorithm that we should have to follow to satisfy the order of log n as the time complexity to find out the element. Well, the task here is right now is for searching the element. Now, the most important two algorithms from the data structure that may be used in the placement coding, that is one of linear search and other one that is the binary search. Now, when we are talking about linear search, we guys knows the differences in between them. The linear search can only works with the sorted array. Okay, if we have the sorted array, and on this sorted array I have to find the element, well, using the linear search I can able to make that follow. But wait and watch here, we have some again differences to understand why to choose linear and why to choose the binary search. When it comes to the linear search can give us the time complexity of order of n when it is the worst case scenario. Now, what is the meaning of worst case scenario? The meaning of worst case scenario is, let us say the element is available at the last index of that array. In that case, we guys can see we have to iterate n times throughout the array, and then we can able to find out them. And that is the reason linear search right now for this problem statement I should not use. Now let us talk about the binary search. What the binary search exactly is going to do? Binary search follows with divide and conquer algorithm, where it is going to find out a pivot element as we discuss in the sessions, and depends on a pivot element, it does form the left array and the right array. Well, the left array must be all the lesser values from the pivot, and the right array must be all the greater values from the pivot. And that is where we can able to find out the sorting right at there. But using the binary search, okay, binary search, again the same approach does we have to follow. We have to check that element position, and it is lesser or greater, then we are going to put them to the right index. Okay, and the similar way we can use the binary search as an algorithm that satisfies the given test cases as the time complexity of order of n. And using this, yes, we guys can able to solve them very well for the current problem statement right at there. Which means if I wanted to satisfy this time complexity given that is order of log n, in that case I should use the binary search as a technique, and we can able to find out. But we have two more conditions that is mentioned in this paragraph. And what is this condition? The equal elements must be appears in a pair. So there must be a forming of pair, like here you guys can see the pair of 2 and pair of 1. So that needs to be followed. And okay, in the array, but there cannot be more than 2 consecutive occurrence of that element. So that also we have to check. Now, to solve this problem statement that matches our time complexity and the given input, we guys are going to follow here for the binary search algorithm. So let us do with that. But before moving to the next, okay, everyone right here in the Zoom call, in the Facebook live or in the YouTube live, please confirm. I hope you have understood why we chosen the binary search and what should be the flow of our logic. Okay, quick yes or no, write it here in a comment. Yes, 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 sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. Okay. Now let us write the code same, write it here on a screen. So I'm going to be get back and I'm going to change to the same code. So I'm going to remove everything from here. Now let us get back to the logic. So as per our problem statement, I wanted to read 2 inputs. One is the length of the array, that is integer input, and other one is the array. Those are separated by a space, and the value can be get read on a same line. So I can use the array of list of map of integer with the input of split. Right, so inputting has been got done. Now, as I wanted to, find out the element using binary search that follows this two consecutive approach, as well as the odd occurrence of the element. In that case, I'm going to be works with the left and right side. Okay, that is again that also says as the two pointer concept. Okay, what is the two pointer concept? Let me explain you, write it here. Let us say these are the elements that we will have in an array. Okay, I'm just assuming these are the elements that we got inputted. Two pointer concept says you have to store with the two different indices. One index which can be stored in left array, it should be at 0th position. So that defines one pointer from that entire array, and we have to create one more index, that is right index, that should be the last element of the array that follows with the last element of the array to check them along with the consecutive format. And to do that, so I here for this input, I'm going to say n-1. And easily, instead of like, if I'm going to iterate, now let us say I'm iterating from this starting array to this end of array, that is n-1. In that case, the time complexity reaches as order of n, where n is the number of elements written there. But right now, instead of using order of n, I'm going to create left and right. So here I'm going to store left, and here I'm going to store right. And by incrementing the left and by decrementing the right, we are going to search the element so that the time complexity for this searching is exactly requires the order of log n. Okay, I hope you guys have understood why we have chosen this two pointer concepts along with the binary search and what kind of codes that we guys are going to be writes with. Now let us write a code for the same. So I'm going to write them to the comment just for now. At the end, I'm going to make them remove. So as I wanted to check with the consecutive approach, so we have the array elements, those are stored in array. So there might be a possibility that first element is a consecutive, and that element that we have to be print as the odd occurrence. So for this, I'm going to check here if my first element, that is array of 0, okay, is not matches with the array of 1. So if it is not matches, that means our the element that I wanted to find is the located at the 0th position. So I'm going to print them very easily. Okay, which is if the element stored at the 0th position, because for 0th and 1th position, we guys don't have to check for this entire for loop. So we can write them along with the condition. We have a other condition also for the 1th position. So if the array of 1, okay, is not going to match, okay, that is the other consecutive element, means this element, it should not be get matched with this element, then our finding out element should be this one. So I'm going to check with this here, like array of n-2. I can find out this index as n-2, where n is the length of my array. Okay, and then here I'm going to print that element. So I have find out the element by the 1. Now this logic can able to works with if our odd element is available in 0 and 1. Now let us say our odd element is occurs somewhere right at here. So for this, I have to run a while loop that is to be get found, and the condition for this while loop, it should be our left point is less than or equals to right. I have to reach to the current element by incrementing the left point and by decrementing the right point. And this is where I'm going to be followed with. So here I'm going to say else, which means if these both of conditions are not being true, so I'm going to say while. Okay, I have to run this while loop till this condition is being true. What is the condition? The left point should be less than or equals to right. Okay, if it is less than or equals to right, so as per the binary search, we have to follow the approach, which means first I'm going to find out the mid of the array that is stored in this left and right direction. So let us first find out the mid. So I'm going to say midpoint equals to, okay, this right minus left, okay, and whole divided by 2. So we can say this right minus left whole divided by 2, and for this entire value I'm going to add the left point so that I can able to find my mid. So now I'm going to store two elements. One element is the pre element of the midpoint, and other element is the next element that is next of the midpoint. So here I'm going to create two variables. Let us say pre, that is what the midpoint minus 1, and let us say next. Okay, next is the keyword in Python. So I'm going to create next as the midpoint plus 1. Why we have retrieved this element? Again, I have to check the consecutive pattern. Okay, consecutive pattern along with the pre and consecutive pattern along with the next element. So here again, I'm going to write with this to match my condition. So if our, okay, this array of previous index, okay, is not going to match with the array of mid index. Okay, if it is not going match, or okay, it should be and to check with the next consecutive. So and the array of next is not going to match with the array of mid. So if it is not being matched, in that case, our current element is stored in the midpoint. So I'm going to print that mid element right at here. And I'm simply going to break this while loop because I have already find out the element. Now I have to check for other approaches. Now this approach is followed only at the element present in the middle location of array. Now we have other approach where the midpoint is must be a even value or midpoint must be the odd value. In that case, we have to change the value of mid that left and right so that we can able to shift it that values by the +1 and -1. So let us do with this. So here one more if I'm going to write. So else if that midpoint is the even value, that is modulus 2 equals to 0. And again, I have to check the consecutive if that both elements are equal. Which elements? If our array of previous and the array of midpoints, it should be double equals. Okay, array of midpoints both are being matched. In that case, what we guys are going to do, I'm going to decrement the right point here. So I'm going to say right equals to the midpoint -1. Else if it is not being matched, then I'm going to increment the left point as mid +1. So that we have to check for next remaining array. And if it is not, which means at the last, I'm going to check for that is if the midpoint is the odd element. In that case, we have to follow the different approach. Like again, if our array of previous, okay, is going to match with the array of mid, okay, here I'm going to say left equals to mid +1. Else if it is not being matched, then right equals to mid -1. Okay, if it is odd in nature, then left point we are going to increment and the right point we are going to decrement. And then at the last, okay, using these two if and else if statement, the left and right points are going to changes, and accordingly it is going to follow these binary search again to find out that element. Now let us check with this. So I'm going to remove all this comment right here. I'm going to save the code. Now, as I wanted to run with the same input test cases given, what is the input test cases given? The array with the size of 5, and we have these 2 elements or 5 elements to be got stored. So let me got entered. So the length of array is 5 and the elements are 2, 2, 3, 1, 1. And you guys can see the output returns as 2. Okay, but the output should be as 3. There may be mistake in the problem. Let me check with this. So out the previous one we got stored, and if it is not being matched with the array, then the next is also is not going to match with the mid. In that case, we are printing that element. So that's right. Okay, let me print that value of left and right so that we can see where we had made the mistake. Let me maximize it. Okay, 5 and the elements are 2, 2, 3, 1, 1. Okay, which means these respective conditions we are getting followed with. Oh, guys, we have done the mistake at here. Okay, the comparisons that we guys have did, that is not exactly right, as we have to compare 2 pointers. So it should be n-1 and n-2. And if it is, then array of n-1 we have to print. Now let me check with this, as we don't have multiple elements, so that while loop is not running. Now let me run with this same 5 2 2 3 1 1. And now you guys can see the output 3 has got written. Why the output is 3 got written? Let us analyze the code right at here. So when this array is going to input, so here I'm writing the array in a comment section so that you guys can understand how these two pointer concepts are going to run. So we have this array with the elements are 2 2 3 1 1. So right now we have to run this two pointer concept. So left is going to store it at here at the start point. So here is the value of left, and at the last n-1, which means here we have stored the right point. Now as per the problem statement, it is going to check the array of 0 and array of 1s are not going to match. Okay, here I'm going to check with this value. So what is the value of array of 0? 2. The array of 1 is also 2. So this condition becomes false because both are match. So as we have written a condition as not match, so that is not going to be matches right here on the screen. So we guys can see, okay, this condition is become false. So array of 0 is not going to print. Now it is going to check for n-1 and n-2. So n-1 is of 1 and n-2 is of ones right now again. And that is the reason again, it is going to say that is not getting match. In that case, the array of n-1, that is the right index, that is also not getting printed. Now it will check for the else block. So in a else block, first it is going to check the value of left, okay, that is 0 right now, is less than the right or not. Yes, the value of left is less than the right point. And in that case, it is going to find out the mid. Okay, so what is the value of right in this case is 4. So here the 5 minus 0, okay, and plus again this. So it is going to find out the midpoint as a 3. And the previous, it is going to store mid minus 1, that is 2 right here. And the next element is going to store 1 right at here. Now it is going to check, okay, in a previous we have 2 and in the next we have 1. So it is going to check the array of previous is not equals to mid. Yes, that is exactly true. Array of previous is not equals to mid, and array of next, that is also not equals to mid. Okay, that is also true. In that case, it is going to directly print the value of mid that we find out as a 3, and it is going to break the loop. And that is the reason here in the output, we are receiving this 3 right here on a screen. Okay, along with the time complexity of order of log n. I hope everyone right here is have understand what is the correct logic for these problem statement right at here. Yes, guys, quick yes or no from both of the live sections and Zoom call right here. Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Great, great. Now today, I guess these two questions are enough to understand about the data structure coding question. I hope that is not so much heavy. If you feel that the questions are so much heavy to understand, in that case, I will suggest you to revise the data structure concept first. Okay, revise them, and tomorrow again in a coding question scenario, we guys are going to check these kind of two more questions. So there itself, you may understand them really very well. So everyone from the Facebook Live and YouTube Live, if you are new to our page or new to our channel, do not forget to subscribe it or follow the page right at there. Second, very important thing, number of students watching in a YouTube Live and the number of students watching in a Facebook Live, the number of likes must be equals. And at the last, as you know, share it to the needful people. And thanks for watching this video, guys. We will meet up tomorrow again with the same time of 6:30 and having two more important coding questions from the TCS company.